My friends, the great experiment.
Down on the lower decks.
Hidden trick.
Would you look at that?
The greatest trick.
And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
The greatest trick.
Welcome to Greatest Trek. It's a new Star Trek podcast from the makers of The Greatest Generation. I'm Adam Pranica.
I'm Ben Harrison. Adam, we are 3 episodes into our coverage of the 5th and final season of Lower Decks.
I won't believe it. Still can't believe it.
But we're also one day out from when we take the stage for our final live show of 2024.
Oh, I believe that. I think that's definitely the case.
We're going to be doing our conspiracy show tomorrow in Los Angeles at Dynasty Typewriter. Show I'm very excited about.
Amazing.
And moments before we sat down to record this episode, Adam, I received a box in the mail containing something I think you will be very excited to see.
Look at that. You're holding up our Nubbin bug box.
Nubbin bug actual.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's serialized. This is the 100th Nubbin bug of 100.
That's so cool. It looks like it's got one of those library card stamps, you know?
Yeah. Our friends at Vulpin Props, actually got the type of stamp that they use to serialize limited edition things to stamp this for us.
You gonna pop it open on the show?
I'm gonna pop it open on the show. I mean, I have to be very careful because somebody is gonna get this. Somebody's order will include.
Does it have the little disc of adhesive tape on either end to hold the flap shut, or can you get in there? And
I think I can get in here without causing harm. And I hope that whoever gets Nubbin Bug 100 is psyched that it had a special moment on the show and is not annoyed that it's been meddled with by a greasy Star Trek podcaster like Benjamin R. Harrison.
This is a cameo bug here. This is great.
All right, so it's wrapped in black bubble wrap inside.
Mm-hmm. I can hear it.
This is my first time actually getting to see one of these. You saw one, right?
I did. I saw a pre-production version. I've not seen a production bug yet.
Oh, man.
Look at that.
Really good.
One thing I'll say about that is the production version is better than what I was handling. The colors are brighter, richer, even.
Oh, man.
How does that feel in the hand?
It's got a nice heft to it. It's gorgeous. It's a genuine work of art. I can't believe we did this. This is so exciting.
Is it flexible enough that its maw moves?
No,
or anything, or
It's a pretty rigid structure.
But it's not fragile.
No, I would hasten to say you could probably drop it and get away with that, but I wouldn't recommend it. This is a collector's item.
Yeah, you know what? I bet some FODs are going to break off the nubbin part and have to glue them back together.
Yeah, sure.
I want them to be careful with this thing.
I mean, the ones that Garrett Wang gets will probably all have at least a limb or two broken off.
He was stating the obvious again.
If you break off the little nubbin vent, you are obligated to kintsugi it back on with the golden glue.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, would that heal you in conspiracy if somebody sees the nubbin and just goes and grabs it? Would that, take you out of the thrall of the bugs?
Could you push it back in? Or by covering up because what it does is it breathes through that nubbin.
It's a gill, yeah. So put a strip of duct tape over it and that chokes it out.
Tell you something, Ben. You'd probably be impervious to the nubbin bugs because the scarves that you like to wear in cooler weather, what is this? The cravat I've seen you wear from time to time, that's not going to work for a nubbin.
Nubbin's not going to be able to get through that.
Going to suffocate the nubbin.
This is another reason that scarves were such important currency in the Federation in the TNG era.
It's true.
Wow, I'm so fucking excited about this. We're gonna have this on stage with us tomorrow at our live show.
That is great.
So we can do a little show and tell. But man,
we'll put it on top of a horgon or something.
Yeah.
What does it mean when you have a Horgon with a nubbin sticking out of it? What kind of play are you into? Is that breath play, Horgon?
Yeah, that might be breath play, Horgon.
It's gotta be. That's a dangerous Horgon.
It's not recommended, from what I understand.
Yeah, be careful if you're a breath play Horgon enthusiast.
Indeed. Adam, do you want to spend some time in an environment not dissimilar from Risa?
I really do. A place for great pleasure and recreation is on deck for today's episode of Star Trek Lower Deck Season 5, Episode 3, The Best Exotic Nanite Hotel.
You know the greatest danger facing us is an irrational fear of the unknown.
We're doing pest control! Fun!
So we get a little captain's log out of Freeman at the top of this one. We're arriving at the Cosmic Duchess, which is it's described as a cruise ship. It looked more like a cruise station to me.
Did you just Tin Man cruise ship?
Cruise ship.
Tin Man.
I feel like I could have engaged with this episode a little better had I had any cruise ship experience whatsoever. You know, like I get what's going on here through context clues, but man, I'm not even sure if cruise ship is for me when I put it like that. Cosmic Duchess, though, seems like it's pretty cool.
It seems like a nice hang.
Yeah.
Size of a moon. So I feel like it has more in common with a Vegas hotel than it does with a cruise ship. Although,
and that's where it has me.
I think you would like a cruise ship. It's a floating casino, essentially. Like,
yeah, but I like leaving.
Do you?
Whenever I want. The idea of being contained in a casino against my will. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's for me. Let's find out.
I think we should go on the Star Trek cruise and test this theory of yours.
Yeah. A sellout of the Nubbin bug might make Star Trek cruise a reality.
Hey, by the time this airs, that might have happened.
Crazy.
Anyways, yeah, they're there not to enjoy the pleasures of the Cosmic Duchess, but to chase a gray goo that has gotten out, and we see it. It's still pretty small. It's like about the size of a domesticated cat as the Cerritos is arriving, but everybody knows that gray goos don't stay the size of a domesticated cat.
It's true. And we've got the newly reassembled lower deckers tasked with this mission, which is pretty nice. The gang's back together.
Yeah. They aren't living in the hallway anymore. Is that part of it?
We haven't seen their living quarters this season yet.
Yeah.
But I think when they got their promotions, they got their own quarters.
Yeah, or like they share rooms or something.
Serialized facial hair is what we get with Boimler at this point, which on an Adam timeline looks like this is about 4 days.
Okay. Yeah, he's got a couple more whiskers here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Tendi, very pumped to be doing a very Starfleet-y mission. No gems will be heisted today for her. Boimler gets yoinked off the mission right as they are approaching the transporter bay. Commander Ransom has something else in mind for him.
You and I have a little side quest we need to take care of.
It's just classic setup for a Lower Decks episode. One or a few of the Lower Deckers get pulled into a different storyline.
It has felt up to this point that Ransom has not been a great big character this season, not a going concern. And I was excited when this happened because this meant he'd be a part of a story.
Yeah, probably get to see his chest is what you realize when he walks into an episode at this phase.
He's hilarious. He's like someone from Pain and Gain. He's in it for the pump.
That's it. Get it.
He sure is. So the bulk of the lower deckers are getting ready to beam down when Jennifer enters the transporter bay and is suddenly very girlfriendy with Mariner in a way that is very surprising to Mariner. And she is kind of in the midst of processing the shock of this as the transporter engages.
You do not want to be attached if you do not believe you are attached. This is as awkward as it gets. And Mariner doesn't seem like the type that would have left this undone.
No.
This is an unusual look for her in my mind. you know?
It really is, yeah.
This is a loose thread that she seems incapable of leaving.
After the theme, Boims catches up with Ransom and Billups, who are loading what looks like a large format Lego shuttle with their equipment and stuff, and they're dressed in some very jaunty vacation wear, and they fill him in a little bit on the undercover mission that they are going on, where they have to like assume the identities of not Starfleet people.
As of now, we're just a trio of vacation bros.
It seems like we've seen a lot of live action episodes on our hit mainline Star Trek podcast, The Greatest Generation, involving the necessity of the vacation wear, you know?
Yeah.
So it's coincidental to experience this over on Lower Decks.
Yeah, like we talked a lot about like whether Trip Tucker knew ahead of time he was going to get a vacation at some point on the mission and therefore packed the Aloha shirt to be prepared for that. But maybe Trip Tucker packed the Aloha shirt on the off chance that they would need to do some spying in hot climates.
We talk about this all the time. Like one of the special aspects of Star Trek as a place, as a concept, is that you and I are very interested in all the places.
Yeah.
And when you hear Ransom talk about going undercover and getting a civilian shuttle van or whatever and all of these clothes, it means that there is a place within Starfleet that has civilian gear, a depot, if you will, where you can go and get this stuff. And the only place I want to go from here is that depot. I want to know what's in the garage. I want to know what's in the closet. I want to see how it operates.
Like, are there Starfleet intelligence analysts that come up with exactly the right wardrobe for you to replicate for your mission?
I want to know all of this.
Yeah, it's fun.
That to me, like, people have feelings about Section 31, and I understand those. But if you were to tell me that that is what Section 31 is, it's actually like the place James Bond goes to get his shit, to do the missions. Like, Section 31 suddenly becomes pretty fun and neat at that point.
What a cute idea.
They're getting ready to load in when Jet is pushed through the transporter bay on a gurney by a med tech. Boims goes over to talk to Ensign Jet, who has not been promoted to Lieutenant Junior grade, but has had his forearms blown off. Or chewed off, I guess.
Hurts like hell, and I can't scratch my nose!
Yeah, his blown off hands serve as a warning to Boimler because Jet does not have very nice things to say about Ransom and what it's like to be a subordinate on a Ransom mission. And Ransom's mission, as we've learned it, is to go track down Admiral Milius, who has come down with a case of vacation madness.
I love that he was called Milius. I was hoping for a little bit more of a Walter Sobchak character type.
Yeah.
But
did you ever see the John Milius documentary? It is a fucking hoot.
Wow, I have not seen. Would love to check it out.
Very few surprises, I would say. He is as you would expect him to be, but just in a there's only one John Milius kind of way.
There's only one John Milius, and it's John Goodman in a Coen Brothers movie.
Right.
Is the whole world gone crazy?
Boimler, newly horrified about the mission that he's about to go on, muds himself like right as he loads on to this shuttle, and they take off. We cut back to the hotel / starship thing. They're tracking this nanite swarm. Mariner's very confused about what's going on with Jennifer. She hasn't talked to Jennifer in a long time, so why Jennifer is acting the way she is a source of great consternation.
Would you look at that?
A bunch of times the team splits off into different parts, and they're able to ask Mariner a bunch of questions while Jennifer is out of earshot. And they finally, like, all split up kind of definitely to do their scans for these nanites, which, when bundled together, are given the nickname Glumpus by Rutherford. So when nanites are singular, I guess they're a nanite, but when there are nanites clumped, they are Glumpus.
Yeah, it's like a murder of crows or a
Right.
pod of orcas, a Glumpus of nanites.
What we're able to learn, like, while scanning and talking about Mariner's maybe girlfriend, is that Mariner's description of the breakup does not really sound like a breakup at all, does it? Because a breakup requires an interaction, and this is not what Mariner has had.
Yeah, more of a ghosting, which seems impossible when you serve on the same relatively small starship.
Right.
But yeah, she never actually said the word break next to the word up. Yeah. So she is now worried that Jennifer never got the impression that they were broken up, and even though they haven't been talking, just assumes that they're an item still. She speculates that maybe a brain parasite might be in play, and Tandy disabuses her of the idea that this is an RFK Jr. situation.
I have a worm in my brain.
It is not. So she goes over to, like, do the dirty work of actually making it official that they're not official anymore. And she finds Jennifer setting up, like, one of those shoebox traps for the Glumpus, and gets the great news that Jennifer is going to be moving starships over to the Manitoba.
Oh, thank God. I mean, what? Babe?
Great news for Mariner because she doesn't have to do anything awkward. She can just say her goodbyes to Jennifer.
It seems that way to Mariner, but this is dicey, right? Because she's clearly running afoul of not a serf's rules for breaking up, which start with don't put off breaking up when you know you want to. She wants to. She has yet again chosen to just let things play out. We cut to some Ricean-style tiki bar where Ransom and Boimler and Billups are doing their investigation of Admiral Milius, and it's a great location to see all kinds of aliens. We see the Captain Bodette-style Gallimites for the first time.
So exciting.
Great poll.
We were just talking about those guys last night.
Also recently talked about are the Cachassans.
Yeah.
Which is unusual timing because on an episode we were covering of Star Trek Enterprise, they were a big part of that too.
And they do not care for people eating or drinking in front of them.
It is like mating. It is very offensive to us.
When Boimler goes up to try to pump them for information, he, like Captain Archer, is ignorant of that fact. So he offends them greatly. They take great umbrage with the fact that he's consuming consumables in front of them while trying to figure out where Admiral Milius might be.
There's a lot of tension between Boimler and Ransom that goes like Boimler fucks up something relatively minor or socially awkward, and Ransom's like very surprised you didn't know that energy right back at him. And this is an example of that in this scene.
Yeah, well, and also, like, I feel like Boimler's making bad decisions because he thinks Ransom is intentionally putting him in harm's way. So when he sees the Gallimites being scary looking, he makes a bad assumption about the other guys being less scary looking.
A dangerous place seems to be the top of that mountain in the distance. It looks a lot like Mount Vestudio from the Paramount Pictures logo, doesn't it?
Better get climbing.
That's where Boimler's going to have to go next because they've tracked a lead to up there on the slopes.
Yeah, the boys down in the crime lab were working in shifts and they got some leads. So they got to go climb that mountain. And we cut back to the rest of the gang who are waiting for Jennifer's trap to catch the Glumpus. They've put a power cell from one of their tricorders under it, and they're debating whether or not it's a good idea to phaser the power cell to make it more attractive, because initially the Glumpus does not express any particular interest in it.
You get a really fun, what feels like throwaway moment when T-Lin notices the show poster for Krog, Master of the Vibe Tubes, on the wall. And it is revealed that she is a great big fan of this musician. And it just killed me because even if this is all there was, even if this was not germane to solving the problem down the road, I was delighted by this. Even if this is it, it doesn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, it didn't need to pay off. It didn't have to be a plant to be charming. When I saw this poster, it was distracting a little bit in the background because I was like, the first couple of times you see it, it's in soft focus, and I was like, oh, what does that say? I really want to know what that poster is of. And then when I got it in in clear enough focus that I could read the word vibe tubes and look at the picture. I was like, damn, that does look really familiar to me. And so I Googled vibe tubes Star Trek. My search results were nothing but porn videos.
Yikes. Yeah, made me wonder. That was from the We'll Always Have Paris episode.
Oh, was it?
Ben, remember? Yeah.
Oh, man.
Of TNG.
Is this your first time in Paris? No.
I guess my algorithm on my search engine is a little bit skewed.
Yeah, as soon as you hit VIB, it auto-completes in 1,000 different ways on your browser.
It really does, yeah. Back on the mountain, they've donned some really jazzy 1980s ski outfits.
Is this how people dress right now when they ski? Like one detail I really liked about this scene was like it still looked like an 80s movie in terms of costuming on the ski slopes, you know?
I haven't been skiing in a few years, but I feel like this has got to be back, right? Like,
how could it ever have left?
I don't know. It looks so great.
It's so cool.
Yeah, so Boimler has to chase down this Denobulan lady that might have intel on where the Admiral is. And good news, she's going down a green circle style slope called Coward's Gulch. So he feels pretty confident that he can capably ski after her.
See at the bottom, bros? This canary is about to fly. Oh boy. Yes, it does it.
Until she goes down Expert's demise, and this turns into a real nightmare for Boimler because initially he like slams into the back of a guy and is grabbing all over his genitalia to get stability so he doesn't die.
He's got back balls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder if he has to like wear like a support thing for that, like some kind of an over-the-shoulder balls holder.
Imagine they would.
Boimler goes off a cliff after getting shoved away by this character. We get one of the longest sustained Boimler screams I can remember getting.
I wonder if this moment was inspired by The Simpsons, because one of the biggest pops it ever got out of me was Homer's dough when he's falling off a cliff and the way that it echoed in a canyon.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me to hear Boimler scream from long distance.
I love the way the sound attenuates immediately when he goes behind that hill.
Yeah.
And then you just see the puff of snow.
Really fun. Yeah. Boimler lives.
He lives. Soft snow.
He's found by the person that he was tailing. This isn't good because he immediately blows his cover and this person is pissed and alerts Admiral Milius right away and they get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
The alert is actually really useful though because Billups has traced the call. Like he's found the location of the Admiral when this alert was sent, but Ransom is pretty pissed that they no longer have the element of surprise.
Yeah, he's going to be ready for them. And I mean, like, Boimler basically had one job, which was to keep his Starfleet identity secret. So,
yeah,
rough choice by him.
Hey!
Cheaters don't deserve Nausicaan Latinum!
This ship and her history will shortly become the care of another crew. They will continue the voyages we have begun.
The greatest trek.
So that Glumpus was trapped in the whole stick and box trap earlier, and what it did when it encountered the energy was it got really big, and then it ran.
Yeah, and they've tracked it to this auditorium that looked a lot like the one in The Fifth Element to me.
Boy, Lower Decks does chase scenes really well, doesn't it?
They do, yeah.
We get a lot of them, and they're always a little bit different.
They bring a new element to it each time.
Yeah.
One element of this one is that Mariner has started to draw some of Jennifer's ire because Mariner is pretty nakedly trying to accomplish the mission as fast as possible, even though she's learned that this is Jennifer's last mission. So Jennifer's taking umbrage every time Mariner suggests a way they could increase their efficiency as they attempt to nab the Glumpus. And like trying to get everybody to split up into teams in which Mariner and Jennifer would be separated really backfires big time.
There's a conversation that happens between Mariner and her friends where she and we are reminded of how unusual it is to live a life in Starfleet. and how, like, if you want to preserve a relationship while you're in Starfleet, you must communicate pretty much at all times.
Anyone else think the way of absolute candor sounds potentially annoying?
Because the changes you go through mission to mission can really have an effect on things.
She doesn't even know whether Jennifer was on that team where everybody got turned into crystals.
Crystals!
And because Mariner has largely avoided the communications, misunderstandings like this were basically predestined to happen.
Yeah.
How much do you love a lazy river?
So much.
More than anything, maybe, is how much I love a lazy river. Incredible that this is part of the mission for Boims, Ransom, and Billups.
I don't know what I'm doing in life because I feel like it's probably been like 5 years since I've even seen a lazy river, much less been in one.
Got a couple of lazy rivers in Vegas, and I'm spelling lazy as Lazae, like to pluralize them.
Oh, okay.
Lazy river. Got a couple of options there, Ben. We got to get you back to Vegas.
Okay. That should be, instead of Pranica Cabana, it should be Benner tubing.
I immediately retract the idea. Boimler isn't going to brook any orders that involve him going into a scary cave.
Yeah.
He doesn't want that at all. He thinks he's going to get sacrificed by Ransom yet again. And while they argue over this, there are some shadowy figures on the shore with blow dart tubes. And they shoot into their inner tubes, pop them, and then those shadowy folks from shore have them surrounded in the water, in the less than waist deep water, which I thought was another great detail.
Yeah, it was fun. Back in the theater, the Glumpus is now chasing them all over. T'Lyn sees the vibe tubes when the Glumpus has turned into like an icosahedron and starts attacking them. And it doesn't seem like a little squishy, friendly guy anymore. It seems really fucking dangerous.
I was interested in the choice of shape this thing took because much like the setup and payoff of Krog and the vibe tubes, I was like, oh, this shape is going to be meaningful somehow. But it isn't. It's just the shape it chose.
There was no tabletop role-playing humor to be derived out of this shape.
Not even a reference of it whatsoever.
Yeah. Surprising that they left that bell unrung. It pretty quickly subsumes Rutherford, Tendi, and T'Lyn, and they are stuck inside it.
That thing just ate our friends!
Before we find out if that means they're dead, we cut over to the compound where Milius is, and Boims and Ransom and Billup have been imprisoned. The Apocalypse Now vibes are impeccable.
So good.
Hell, man, out here, we're all his children.
Except for instead of like natives who have kind of like become cult-like devotees of the Colonel, it's just like disaffected vacationers who have become cult-like devotees of the Admiral.
Did you not think they were employees? Like, because they had the sort of attentive and kind vacation resort service worker affect to them?
I kind of got the impression that the employees were non-combatants in this whole thing and that they were just serving drinks to people as though they were kind of like LARPing some kind of...
That's fun.
You know, some kind of Heart of Darkness.
I'm into that.
Yeah. We meet Admiral Milius. And he's a very sunburned guy who he's gone local and he's got like elite credit card status. So he really gets pampered in this hotel.
He's an older dude in a robe and slides, and he's drinking a coconut drink. He seems to be chilling the most.
Yeah.
And the story he tells is really interesting Star Trek world building. Because Boimler's take is like, you're an admiral, you have all this power, why would you throw it away to be on a permanent vacation? And he was like, yeah, I had power, but like within my little bureaucratic system, it meant that I was the biggest space whale milker on the list, which meant I did nothing but milk space whales. And that's cool if that's all you want to do, but once you go on vacation in a 24th century resort hotel, how could you want to do anything else? And the case that he makes, I think, is really strong.
Yeah. It's also just like kind of tragic when you love boobs as much as you do, and then they're kind of ruined for you because of having to milk them at work all the time.
Is that a part of it?
Yeah, I think he's into... I got the sense that he was resentful that they'd ruined space whale boobs for him.
Oh, jeez. That's a part of this, too.
Yeah, that's headcanon, but I think it's in there.
Okay.
The upshot is he is recruiting. He wants Boimler to join his lifestyle. Like, more AWOLs, the merrier, in his opinion. And this starts to seem like it is making an interesting case to Boimler, who is, looking at command and ambition and responsibility through sort of a new lens this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's soon going to be running afoul of a facial hair policy in, I don't know, 2 or 3 months on the Adam timeline. You want to be careful, Boims.
Yeah. Uxbridge Shimoda actually has one of those too. So, just a heads up.
That I must have it? Is that the policy?
No, I'm the only one that's allowed.
You're going to have to fire me if that's the case.
So this nanite chase has taken it to the streets. We're now rolling around like a hillside beach town. The vibe tube musician that T-Lin enjoys is like buying some ice cream, and he also gets absorbed into this thing.
I love that it's a hovering golf cart that is the chase vehicle. The golf cart that you would see in a resort community or like a retirement community.
Yeah.
As like the primary vehicle for a household.
Yeah.
It's great.
The villages.
Mm-hmm.
Mariner and Jennifer narrowly avoid like dying as their hovering golf cart goes off the second story of a building, and up in a palm tree, they finally squash the beef. And we learn that Jennifer was actually kind of fucking with Mariner as Rwenge for the way Mariner ended the relationship. But also, like, Jennifer, you could have initiated this conversation too.
Right.
Why is it 100% in Mariner's court to do that?
It's not a great moment. And here's what it makes me think, Ben. We need to add to the rules of greatest gen / greatest check. Here's what I'm going to say. No bits on ships, as in relationships.
Like apostrophe ships.
This is what Jennifer did. She's doing bits on ships.
She is.
Actually, if you're on a cruise ship, no bits on cruise ships either, because there's no escape.
Yeah.
I'm going to make that a part of this also.
Yeah, and you might get like Legionnaire's disease if you're not careful.
So with and without the apostrophe, this rule needs to be enshrined into the rules of Uxbridge Shimoda shows.
Okay. Yeah, that's like an A and a B
of
rule, I don't know, 8, let's say.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The greatest trek
is yet to come.
This moment actually inspires Mariner to do the breakup, though, so that's good.
Yeah, they make it a fish, and they hop down from the tree, and Jennifer has a great idea about how to disrupt the nanites, because they get a radio up from Rutherford about there being like a particular frequency they need to override or something. But we cut away, and Boims is now like on a chaise longue enjoying a punchy beverage and seems to be a little bit more Team Admiral Milius than he is Team Billups and Ransom. And so they have to shout from where they are tied up over to Boimler to try and like deprogram him a little bit. They're trying to appeal to his sense of vanity a little bit. Like, we picked you for this mission because we thought you'd be good at it, actually.
Right. And it's interesting that thinking a subordinate is capable and prepared as an officer can read like throwing a subordinate into danger when, if you're not on the same page communications-wise, and here's the film paper, Ben, these A and B stories are running in parallel, right? Like, communication.
Wow.
Is how you avoid these misunderstandings, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Boimler looks like he's decided to stay on vacation, and when he lubes himself up with the sunscreen, it looks like he's going to be there for many, many hours. But his plan was to become lubed in order to be a better fighter.
Yeah.
because he lubes himself up and frees Ransom and Billups in the process of this fight scene.
It's like that scene in A History of Violence with Vigo's hog flopping around as he kicks those guys' asses.
I never saw that movie.
I am shocked by that. That seems like such an Adam Pranica movie.
This reminded me of that one scene in The Watchmen with Lube Man, who appeared once, sprayed himself with lube, slid into a sewer, and then was never heard from again. What is the mystery of Lube Man? We'll never know.
Yeah, they never pitched that as like the first season of something, right? That was just a mini series.
That was a one season and done situation, The Watchmen show.
Fuck.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
Can we get a spin-off about Lube Man? I want to find out.
Lube Man, come together with Puff Daddy. Lube Man. He delivers lube to Puff Daddy.
So he's a villain, actually.
No, he's not a villain. He's just caught up in like the business. He's selling lube. It's not his job to decide who buys the lube.
I mean, if you know about Puff Daddy's lube, you know that there's no like good use of that lube.
When you're a part of Big Lube, I think you're not really asking a bunch of questions outside of the production of the lube. The production and distribution of that lube is where your interest stops.
Allegedly.
You can't be responsible for the people who buy your product. Ben, it's why we're not responsible for what FODs do with our show.
Or our nubbin bugs.
That's where our responsibility ends.
Yeah, once you've got the nubbin bug, we are hoping you'll make the right choice with it.
Fuck, we need to include some waivers with these boxes, man.
We really do. Some indemnifications of Uxbridge Shimoda, its officers and affiliates.
Yeah. All right. It sounds like even more work will be required when it comes to selling the nubbin bugs.
Mariner and Jennifer jump into the Glumpus, and they've got something like wrapped up in a bed sheet. And when they get inside, that turns out to be the vibe tubes. Man, T-Lin fucking rocks the fuck out with these things.
Hit it, T-Lin!
In order to hit the frequency that will incapacitate the icosahedron.
I didn't go back and watch the episode, but like the episode of TNG where this device first appeared, I don't remember there being a ton of handling of it. And like you get an angle on the vibe tubes here that show you basically how they are played in a way that is like very welcome world building. Like there's rings on the tubes that you have to move around and the sound they make is very pleasant.
Yeah, I liked listening to it.
And T-Lin like appears to be a skilled practitioner of this thing. It turns out she's really good at wrapping her hands around tubes and moving them up and down.
To completion, because when the icosahedron comes apart, it makes a big sticky mess.
Really does. When the Glumpus separates, the nanites separate, and everyone is tossed to the ground at that point.
We cut back to Milius's compound, where the people that he is commanding as his minions sort of lose heart at this moment. They have like spears that are made out of darts lashed to the top of broom handles and stuff. They're not going to do violence for him. They're on vacation. They're like, nah, fuck this. We're going to go back and play paddleball or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of sacrifice is laughable when he proposes it.
So his whole house of cards collapses, and it's a great look for Boimler. He did the mission.
Yeah.
Right in front of Ransom, where you could see it and everything.
He didn't even lose his hands. So finally, T-Lin meets Krog, and they get along great because Krog is a follower of Vulcan meditative practices. And what a moment.
Yeah.
You meet a musical hero and they aren't a dirtbag. Love it when that happens.
Pretty cool. Kind of feels like they could have something if they wanted something.
I was wondering that myself. With the way her hands move on cylindrical things.
Mm-hmm.
My, your hands move quickly.
Only when I see something I want.
And with how cool as hell Krog appears to be.
Does Krog on the rocks keep his genitals in the place that a regular humanoid would come to expect, or are they up on his back somewhere?
I'm dying to find out.
They are standing around in the goo that is left over after the collapse of the Glumpus, and They discover an Intrepid-class ship microscopically among the nanites, and they get on FaceTime with the captain of this ship. She says that they're from a mini dimension. They slipped through a quantum rift from a dimension where they are normal size, and they've been trying to build up the power to get back to their dimension, which I guess like came across as Glumpus destroying Luxury Hotel.
Couple of things about this. What did you make of the round comm badge detail? Like, that was a choice that someone made. I wonder if it was just a way to further distinguish this universe from what we could call the Prime Lower Decks universe. Like, that was an interesting detail. And I love the laugh that Mariner has about Month of Hell being the amount of time they have spent experiencing a hell-like time period as being like kind of insignificant.
Yeah.
When compared to something like a year. Pretty cool.
So back at the bar on the Cerritos, which has got to really feel like a piece of shit after you've been running around the Cosmic Duchess all day.
Like you go on vacation and eat vacation food and then you come home and have a fucking sandwich or something.
Yeah.
Cool.
Ugh.
I used to like my food and then I ate Italian pasta for a week. It sucks.
T-Lin is gifted a signed Krog picture by Tendi. Tries to play it off like she doesn't love this, but in fact does. Mariner and Jennifer say a polite goodbye to each other. And we learn that Admiral Milius has devoted himself to the project of finding a way home for this amoeba-sized Intrepid-class ship.
I wonder if this is going to be a storyline that carries forward. Like, several details have already.
Right.
But the idea of the Cerritos containing this ship within it makes me wonder if we'll see this again.
Yeah, there was an episode of, was it Deep Space Nine where they miniaturized their runabout like this?
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
So not unprecedented that we could see something like that. And I mean, it seems like we've now got like a couple of examples this season of quantum fissures, so maybe that's a going concern. Last little beat in the episode is Ransom like giving an attaboy to Boims and telling Boims that he's looking for Jet because he's got a very dangerous 2 extremities mission coming up on a lava planet. And we're out. Adam, did you like this episode of Lower Decks?
She'll always bring it home.
Hijinks at an all-time high, it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
What an adventure. What a character study of Mariner. Like, it's hacky to say that there are aspects of her that could be seen as two-dimensional. Like, I feel like after 5 seasons, we might have had her figured out. But I was genuinely surprised that she didn't have it within her to directly tell a romantic interest that it was over. Like, she seems so direct in so many other parts of her life.
Yeah.
That's an interesting wrinkle about her that I appreciated learning.
Yeah.
I liked seeing Jet Manhaver again. Jet's so fucking cool.
He's like the second coolest person on the Cerritos.
It's cool.
I like all the little details of this episode having to do with lazy rivers and resort vacations and so forth. Really fun. I don't know. Fun episode. It felt a little like a vacation for me. What about you?
Yeah, fun episode, funny jokes. I feel like they do such a good job of making a thing that would be like a very, very big problem in any other Star Trek, like a fun, light problem for Lower Decks. Like the nanites that are going to consume everything being like a terrifying thing would be an easy case to make in any other series.
Boy, you're right about that. There's never a point where someone thinks if this rolling ball of nanites touches the power station,
right,
the whole thing goes up. That's never a danger, right?
Yeah, it's just like rolling around that city area and people are going like, ah!
Yeah.
Never that worried.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really fun episode. And I'm really enjoying season 5 so far.
Yeah, me too. Good stuff.
Well, let's see if there's any good stuff in the Priority 1 inbox. What do you say?
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
What I say is we've got a couple of Priority 1 messages here, Ben, starting with a promotional one. Here's that message. Reverse Psychology is a Frasier rewatch podcast going backwards from the finale to the pilot. Why would anyone do that, you ask?
Why did you do that?
What our theory presupposes is maybe backwards is the best way to watch anything. To prove it, we'll review the Die Hard franchise backwards until the end of the year. What's better than Christmas with John McClane? If you want more action from the captain of the Bozeman, check out our bonus episodes coming out about season 2 of the Frasier revival.
Wow.
Roll Aaron drop.
Amazing.
So you can listen and subscribe to the Reverse Psychology podcast, tinyurl.com/reversepsychpod.
And that's psych spelled P-S-Y-C-H.
I'm going to have to get in there and spell a tiny URL. REVERSEPSYCHPOD. Reverse Psychology podcast is what we're talking about. I love the idea of watching Frasier in reverse. Frasier is a program that my wife and I recently finished.
Oh, nice.
As kind of a watch before bed kind of show, the wind down show that we've come to appreciate over the years. And love Frasier. Early season Frasier is great. Later season Frasier is fine.
Well, that's great for this podcast. It's going to get better and better.
It gets better, and I like that strategy, yeah.
I feel like there's a huge overlap between the Star Trek crowd and the Frasier crowd. Do you get that sense?
I don't.
Oh, interesting.
What makes you say that?
I don't know. I've just always gotten the feeling that Frasier people are Star Trek people and vice versa.
I mean, the thing that comment makes me think of is that time that Kelsey Grammer was a guest at Star Trek Las Vegas, and the fucking moderator never asked a Star Trek question. So for some people, maybe they are totally separate concepts.
Our next P1 here is from Eric, Rob, and Kurt, and it's to Chris. Goes like this. Thrown down some scarves to officially welcome Chris, a.k.a. Scotty, to the Friends of DeSoto from Kirk, Bones, and Spock. Glad you have joined us on this journey of dick and fart jokes. You fit in perfectly. Wow. I can't tell if that's a slam on Chris or not.
I mean, that description is how my favorite friendships go. Is that a slam? No, that's love.
I like that they've all assigned themselves original series characters to inhabit in their friend group, too.
I like that a lot. Yeah, good stuff.
Well, if you'd like to get some good stuff of your own on this show, head to MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron and set up a P1 today. Inventory is filling up fast for Lower Decks.
Yeah, it's great to see, and Priority Ones go a long way in supporting the production of our shows.
Hey, Adam.
What's that, Ben?
Did you find yourself an Edward Larkin?
Edward Larkin! I didn't think I'd have it until I heard this dialogue detail. So at the very, very end, Jet's hiding from Ransom, and Ransom is praising Boimler's accomplishments on the away mission. But he uses a term to describe Boimler that I rarely ever hear, and I haven't heard personally in a very long time, the wiry guy. Every away team needs a wiry guy.
I told you, always good to have a wiry guy.
Thank you, sir.
And this is a term that I tried to give to myself whenever anyone ever tried to call me skinny, because I was the skinny kid for a long, 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 long time. And I tried to change that into wiry because being called a skinny kid bothered me so much for so many years. And so being called skinny sucks, but wiry is an adjective used for strength.
Sure.
There's no skinny strength, there's wiry strength.
Right.
So that was a specific memory for me. And so I'm going to make Ransom my Edward Larkin just as a way to honor the terminology there that I prefer myself. Wiry guys, get the work done.
You're the wiriest guy on this podcast, Adam.
That's what I think. Yeah. How about you, Ben?
I'm going to give it to Billups because Billups goes on this mission and comes up with so much backstory and character work for himself and like barely does shit in terms of spycraft or anything. Like he is fully just trying to inhabit a role while on vacation. Like he's not actually trying to advance the cause of the mission at all.
If you're undercover and you love to gamble, making part of your backstory problem gambler is a great detail to create for yourself. I love it.
Yeah, so Phillips really made me laugh in this one. He's my Larkin.
Great stuff.
Adam, can you tell the folks a warning bois that you've spotted in our Slack that you appreciate?
I sure can. And the reason why is when FODs share what they think of the shows that we make with other people, it gets more people to listen to the show, and more people listening to the shows means great things for us. So thanks for spreading the word.
Prepare a buoy and launch it when ready.
Warning buoys.
An emergency buoy. A warning buoy.
Ben, I've got a message here from X, formerly Twitter, from longtime FOD, Cam Latif. Writes in and says, as a proud member of the Greatest Trek family of podcast, I finally listened to my first bonus content Factory Seconds episode. Ben, and the reason I'm reading this is because we recently got some guff about Factory Seconds in a previous Priority One message.
I'm
going to try to offset that with this message. Cam says, it was thoroughly enjoyable, like eating a plate of perfect spaghetti and meatballs.
Hell yeah.
Highly recommended. You'll never look at food the same way again.
Amazing.
Yeah. I love Factory Seconds.
Cam is always so nice to us, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate anyone that leaves a nice review or puts up a social media post about our show to help get the word out. That is the end of our episode. We're going to leave it with Wynde from here, and she will tell you a little bit about what's going on next week on the program.
Looking forward to that. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Greatest Trek is an Uxbridge Shimoda podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's hosted by Ben Harrison and Adam Pranica, and it's produced and edited by Wynde Priddy. The guys will be back next week for Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 4. It's called A Farewell to Farms. Thank you to the Max Fun members who support this show financially. Members are the ones keeping us going week after week, and you can join them in supporting the show at MaximumFun.org/join. Members also get instant access to a ton of great bonus content, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you to Nick Ditmore, who created the show art, and Adam Ragusia, who composed the theme music. Thanks to Rob Adler and Bill Tilley for their work on the @GreatestTrek social media pages. Follow those accounts and use the hashtag GreatestTrek when you post about the show online. We're also on YouTube. You can see the Nubbin bug from today's intro on the @GreatestTrek YouTube channel right now. So go find us over there and make sure you're subscribed. You can also subscribe to the Greatest newsletter at podshop.biz. That's where all the great merch is too. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Greatest Trek.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows, supported directly by you.